Right.
So just a little longer, people will start talking about it. And then you'll start having those who oppose it or who are for it.
Then, right, they'll come out.
Yeah, then they'll start coming out. Everybody's like waiting to see who's gonna come out
Yeah.
and challenge this. So they'll know exactly who they got to challenge.
So who came up with the title?
Oh, I don't know this.
Corey Pegues. He was here. He's a retired deputy inspector for NYPD.
What's the title? I didn't get the title.
It's a new menthol ban and new stuff.
Stop it first.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's like broken windows.
Well, basically.
Broken windows.
I got a logistic question. That
Small.
microphone's gonna be passed when everybody talks.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I mic up the mic stand. I want to make sure that that
Yeah.
follows. Okay, cool.
Definitely.
You familiar with broken windows, right? Small crime issues, small issues, like loitering and stuff like that, they lock a person. That's along that same line. Cigarettes will come along that.
And then it'll lead to.
Testing 1, 2.
Broken windows.
Testing 1, 2.
Small issues, like loitering and stuff like that.
Testing 1, 2. Hey, the timer. Everybody that's watching will be starting very soon.
How many people are watching?
Right now, 4. It's 4 people.
That's good.
Yeah, I have to start sharing it. Usually we're.
Who's the sound? Because as you was talking, there was a sound on it. Somebody was talking.
Yes, a delay. You listen to a delay.
It's us.
That's what he said. Is that us?
Is Andre gonna come? Is he here for this or is he?
Yeah, no, he's coming.
He's coming. He said he was going on and do whatever.
Either way,
Hey, Citizationies, I see you. Thank you, everybody. Give us like 5 minutes. We're about to start. Thank you for coming. Yeah, we on like a delay. So yeah, so it's a delay. It's a delay.
How you did your foot?
this is the most embarrassing story in the entire world.
You gotta start with bear. Just tell people
I
bear
mean,
attack, and then people.
My problem is that I hate lying. So, but I need to come up with a better story. But essentially, I took off my shoes and sat on my bed, and they were right. My husband's like, "Move those, you're gonna fall and hurt yourself." And I'm like, "I'll be fine."
And you did?
And I broke toes
Wow.
over hitting up my own shoe. It's so embarrassing. I have no one to blame but myself. And now these 4 people know also.
See, would it have been better if you just say you fought a bear?
I thought no one would believe me. I have no scars anywhere. No
Your
scratches.
foot. That's a bad scar. You gotta stand your ground against a
Yeah,
grizzly.
you had to run.
Bear trap. There you go. Bear trap.
But now-
It's better.
But I'll tell you, because like a broken toe is so painful and it's such a small extremity that it's made me think about NFL players and what do? They have a
They
broken
play
toe.
on a broken toe.
But it's impossible to play on
They-
a broken toe.
Try it.
Disaffecting. Or stalking, it's not affecting.
No.
So make sure.
I mean, the cameras might still on, but.
Oh yeah, but it's just you there.
Yeah, at least people will hear conversation, they won't think.
It's not silence.
You won't think-
Exactly.
Hey. Hey. You there? I just want to say it wasn't much, but actually, yeah. Oh, I appreciate you. That's just me. I'm just a good people. I might not be able to do what I love to do, but I'll do something. Okay. That's all. I just want to make sure you got it. Well, I don't know. They seem, I guess he said it's gonna see him tomorrow. Yeah. couple of dollars. She, I think she told me already. So maybe
Are they coming up?
you still there? Yeah.
Okay,
I just saw shades. You don't remember? I used to communicate with him when I was incarcerated.
Who?
Cheetahs.
Oh, word?
Hey, Cheetahs. You don't remember no. This is in the early ages, man. Late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And he had aged a little bit too.
Yo, what up, man?
What's up?
Everybody still downstairs?
The elevator's slow.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah.
How did you get the elevator to work?
I forgot the elevator is so slow.
Okay. Better than the steps.
How we doing?
I'm excellent. How are you?
All right, yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you.
I brought the baby out.
Yeah.
My sister.
Hi, Emily, I'm next to
How you doing?
Good.
Every like I keep changing. Ty left, Lisa left. All
Carter.
my people that I
Oh,
knew.
yeah, we're like a routine.
Okay.
Yeah, all my people I was good and knew.
We already live.
What's your name?
We already live.
Emily. How you doing?
Yeah,
AJ.
How you doing?
I'm well.
I'm gonna have to move that to the side if there's people in the front.
Move what?
You want to sit in the back? Okay, she said she'll sit in the back.
Hey there.
I'll just move this chair, I'm just gonna move this chair so nobody.
So you?
You want to keep this spot clear?
Yeah, so you got.
Yes. So
I can
I don't want to say that if you're gonna be, a big head, that's all I see.
Okay.
It's still the same. It's still the same.
No problem. Thank you.
You what? AJ, you just want to sit and monitor the thing?
Hello, how are you?
No, okay.
Yeah, because it's live.
Okay, so I'm not.
Nah, don't worry about it.
All right. Dang, did you share that with us yet?
It's on my page. You follow my page?
Hello. Huh? What? I have someone ready. Thank you.
But I'm seeing they'll be open. Yeah. Yeah. So I just mosey over.
And if you want to talk to him, just talk to him. Say what?
In the comments.
Yeah, in the comments section.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can zoom in on the speakers. I can zoom in on the speakers.
Oh, I made it.
Well,
don't worry about it.
Nah, don't worry about it because then you start to mess with this. Then you gonna have to turn it. That's too much. You got the.
You can send it to Chuck down. I'm on David's page.
I sent it to Chuck.
You send it to him?
They say just bring a flag with them as an event. Let them know what the event is. Have a flag. Bring it to them and they'll work on it. We said we could do it in advance. I want to do it for 15 when I hope. Meaning I want to get it when I get it. So, 12 o'clock. Yeah, 12 o'clock. Yeah.
Do you gentlemen recall the name of the woman who's trying to introduce the legislation? Jewel something.
Joe Williams.
Christopher Johnson.
Jewel Williams and Christopher Johnson. Thank you.
Two county legislatures. Christopher Johnson is
What? Oh, you fight out. How you doing? David Jones? This is all going on Okay, good. How you doing, exactly? How you doing? Nice to meet you. Have a seat.
Okay.
My buddy's over there now, Charlie Smith, that played for the Knicks. He's over there now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
Just in my shop too.
I promise people are in the.
You good, you good.
You want to sit up? Yeah, we need to do another chair.
That should be.
Hey, Damon, you need some more chairs now?
That'll be good.
Back, yeah. Yes,
Oh, my brother, how you doing? How you doing, sir?
It's just first time I meet you. Sheila.
Hey, Sheila, how are you?
I'm good, yes, pleasure. Yes, Damon, you're running the show, what do you want Dr.
Yeah, just, all the panelists, please sit up here.
Okay.
Dr.
All
Penn,
right, Phillips, go.
we have one mic, so we're gonna have to share the mic.
That's good.
Just waiting for Andre to come do the welcome.
Okay,
This
great.
is his house.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Okay.
Huh?
What?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2.
I got you.
Andre Wallace. Like, just give the welcome to everybody,
Clear still?
and thank you for allowing us to use your building for this event.
Welcome, but how you gotta cut your?
Hey, man, this is, hold on. This is Roger, man.
You in the wrong time, say, hey, man, that's your song. Mess up playing. All right. Well, thank everybody for coming tonight, as we talk about a very, very important issue. This is an issue that I know will affect Black and brown communities and our Hispanic brothers as well. So this is something that we really have to focus on and understand where they're going with this particular new legislation and new laws. So I'm glad that you guys can come to talk about this issue because I know it's going to affect our community, and we want to make sure that our community is empowered, informed of what's going on, and let everybody know what's happening, and make sure that we get this information out there. So thank you, gentlemen, for coming and doing this. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the community thanks you as well. So with no further ado, I'm gonna pass the mic over to you. Here you go.
And I'm gonna pass the mic over to the moderator for tonight, Dr. Benjamin Chambers.
Oh, can everyone, if you don't mind, when you speak, could you just say and spell your first and your last names? So that we
Just the
have
first
them?
name.
Thanks. Thanks.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis Jr., BenjaminChavez, Chavis like Davis. I'm very pleased to be here on behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. We represent the Black press in America. There are 235 African-American owned newspapers and media companies across the United States. And for many, many years, we worked very close with Reynolds and with law enforcement, particularly NOBLE, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, and others. I'm a former New York City resident, used to live in Harlem. I'm always glad to be up here in Westchester, in Mount Vernon. And thank you for inviting us. We have a great panel discussion that we're going to have tonight. What I'm going to do is just make a few introductory statements and I'm going to get to the panel. Across our nation today, there are public policymakers that sometimes engage in making public policy without adequate notification or consent or involvement or engagement by the very communities that the public policy is directed toward. Such is the case in New York State now, where there are various legislators, and sometimes in some city councils, or sometimes some county commissioners, who have introduced various proposals, some of them in committees, some of them never made out of committees. But the reason why we're here up in Westchester is this is a preventative gathering before it happens. We want to let the community know that if you attempt to ban menthol, it's just going to set up a situation where Black and brown communities in particular, those who smoke, who prefer to smoke menthol, are going to be disproportionately impacted by these proposed bans. At the federal level, FDA, but also at the state level, and at the county level, and at the municipal level. And that's why we're here tonight, to discuss the specifics. I'm always glad to be surrounded by brothers and sisters who know something about law enforcement. A lot of times people, again, policymakers, they make policies that impact the people that have to implement or enforce those policies without adequate even consultation with law enforcement. So tonight, I'm pleased to join first on my right, Brother Charles Billups. He is the chairperson of the Grand Council of Guardians for the last 26 years, with 25 years as a law enforcement officer and municipal police instructor. The Grand Council of Guardians was formed in 1974 as an umbrella organization that consisted of 6 African-American fraternal organizations in the field of law enforcement throughout New York City and the state of New York. Today, the council consists of and is affiliated with over 24 law enforcement fraternal organizations throughout the county, with a membership of more than 10,000. Brother Billups is now a law enforcement consultant on policing, correction policies, and a criminal investigator for several New York law firms, and a former member of the new NYCLU Advisory Task Force Board on Police Brutality and Community Policing. Just let me say that Charles Billups is also a freedom fighter, a very knowledgeable law enforcement executive. I'm going to introduce the whole panel, then I'm going to go back and let Charles lead off. To my left is another freedom fighter, law enforcement executive, Corey Pegues, a Queens, New York native, is a retired New York City Police Department deputy inspector, as well as an author, motivation speaker, community leader, and expert on police-related topics. Corey published and authored his first book, Once a Cop, which has been met with critical acclaim around the country, and he has a documentary, A Cops and Robbers Story, available on Amazon. Corey is also a weekly commentator on Court TV and has made great appearances on such primetime television and syndicated radio talk shows, including CNN, MSNBC, and many others. Corey Pegues. And then lastly, Damon K. Jones, right here in Westchester County. Damon Jones is a 33-year Westchester County Department of Corrections veteran. Damon has had an illustrious career in law enforcement with leadership responsibilities in the National Police Association, the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice, Blacks in Law Enforcement in America, and as a member of the Westchester County Police Reform and Reimagining Task Force. Damon is also a health advocate and has authored 3 books on nutrition and 2 books on how to achieve success in the Black community. He's recognized by local, state, and national representatives and organizations for his hard work in addressing the need for transparency, accountability, justice, and the need to cure socioeconomic disparities in communities of color. Brothers and sisters, this is our panel. Charles, what's your perspective on this ban that's been proposed on menthol. And before I let you answer that question, I just want to recognize the president, Mrs. Carter. We're so pleased to have you.
Thank you.
She's the mother of Eric Garner. And Eric Garner will be alive. Eric Garner will be alive today if it wasn't for these bad policies and bad interaction between the police and our community. Particularly, what he was alleged to have done, and we don't, that's allegation, could have been just a simple ticket or a simple summons. And so the memory and legacy of Eric Garner is one of the reasons why we're here. We don't want to see that situation happen again. And we don't want to see any other policies enacted by policymakers that's going to put us in greater jeopardy. That's going to make us have negative interaction between ourselves and the police. That's what this is all about. It is a health issue for some, and for others, it is a law enforcement and criminal justice issue. But at the end of the day, this is an issue that we should be organizing around, should be mobilizing, and certainly keep our community informed. Brother Phillips.
Good evening, everyone. The reason why we're here is because of incidents like Eric Gardner. Basically, I'm here tonight to talk about the issue concerning our community. If it's going to be banned, how it's going to affect our community. The general idea of the topic of the night is, will it become the new stop and frisk? Or will it become the new tool the law enforcement or the police departments are going to use to antagonize or harass our young people in the streets? I think the conversation should go on, and I'm not going to want to talk about this. I'd rather get into the conversation. This way here we can talk about these points and we can try to highlight them and bring about the idea of the need of education instead of banning. Right now, this country is going through some kind of phase where they just want to cut out and ban everything. And I'll be honest, and I'll be upfront. It's like they call themselves trying to save Black people, but really all you got to do is talk to us and reach out to us and have that conversation. Then this way here, we can tell you what's necessary for us. And I'll pass the mic.
Thank you, good man. Thank you so much for your comments. All right, Corey Pegues.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Chambers. So, as I quite often do, we have to give people their flowers where they live. Dr. Chambers is one of the last people living that walked with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He served his youth program. He did 10 years in prison for us. All right, so we need to give him his flowers. He's been on the front line for a very, very long time. So let's give Dr. Chambers. I'm here. I'm here speaking as law enforcement expert, as an inspector, executive in the New York City Police Department over 21 years. I coined the phrase a long time ago. In Black and brown communities, the police hunt, and in white communities, they protect and serve. And I challenge anybody, any police community in the world, to challenge me on that, because the numbers just don't lie. I can tell I work in white communities, Black communities, Asian communities, Spanish communities. It's two different directives. Our directive is go get them. There's no, second chance, write the summons. Everybody else is, all right, we give you a second chance. All right, don't do that again. So I know they will be hunting in our communities, but what I'm most concerned about is this will be the new stop and frisk. Make no mistake about it. When you give a cop a tool, you put it in his tool belt, he or her will use it when they want to. Perfect example, I always use an example, Central Park. You can't feed, people feed pigeons in Central Park, right? But there's an administrative code law on the books that you can't feed pigeons. So like I'm a cop and you piss me off when I see you feeding pigeons, now I'm gonna pull that tool belt out, now I'm gonna stop you, question you, maybe run your name, find you, pop for a warrant for jumping the turnstile, now you're in jail, or for feeding a pigeon. Yeah, that's the tool. We can't give them tools. We don't wanna give them tools. They don't need no more tools, trust me. In the police world, we got a whole bunch of stuff we can do, from jaywalking to murder. We have enough tools, all right? And since George Floyd's murder, that's right, I said his murder, we know that was a murder. And by the way, my mama Carr is in the building. Just think about these 3 cases. Sandra Bland refused to put her cigarette out after the cop was going to give her a summons already. The summons was already wrote. But these cops, the machismo and the chip on their shoulder is so big, this white cop was like, she's gonna put that cigarette out, because she's just smoking like, hey, give me the cigarette, I'm gonna take it, I don't care. He's like, put the cigarette out. No, I'm not putting my cigarette out, put it out, put it out. She ended up getting dragged out of the car, allegedly hanging herself, right? The ticket should have just been thrown in the window. I do that all the time. You don't wanna listen here, I wrote the summons, have a nice day. Eric Garner, allegedly selling Lucy cigarettes, right? He gets choked out, murdered. And nobody paid. Since 1996, we have a law in the NYPD books that you can't choke nobody. And nobody went to jail. Nobody even got suspended without pay. Unfreaking believable. And the most prominent case, well, all lives matter, but the one that we all saw was George Floyd. He was allegedly buying Newports with a counterfeit $50 bill. You know what we do in NYPD? I catch you with a counterfeit bill. I take your name, address, date of birth, write it on it, call Secret Service, say, listen, this person just passed this bill off, something y'all need to investigate. That's not an NYPD rule. That's the rule. So I don't even know how he ends up getting choked out and murdered. So do you understand? So for like the elected officials that's listening, this isn't a game. This is real. When you give the cop a tool, they're gonna use it. So when you do this banning, everybody's saying that this ban, the cop's not gonna be involved. So let me just tell you what this is gonna look like, how the cop's gonna get involved. In your nice $500,000, $400,000, $300,000 house, it's gonna be 4 guys out there fighting. One gonna pull out a gun, they gonna have a shooting. Who you gonna call? You ain't calling the Ghostbusters. You calling the police. Guess what the police gonna do? Find out that they was fighting over selling illegal cigarettes, Lucy's, because it's very profitable. Nobody's going to jail for selling cigarettes. Massachusetts just did a ban last year. Total ban, right? If you get caught with a truckload of cigarettes, it's worth maybe $4 million. You know what's gonna happen if they stop you and find you with the cigarette? $1,500 fine. Are you gonna take that chance, man, to sell cigarettes? I know I am. You better call me. You better call me. 1,500 versus 4 million. I'm taking the chance to sell cigarettes, right? It's never gonna be the cigarette. Eric Garner wasn't a cigarette. George Floyd, it's always gonna be refuse a lawful order to disperse. Eric Garner refused a lawful order to disperse. He said, yo, get out of here, get out of here. He refused a lawful order, congregating with 3 or more others. I already know the game. I've been there. I know the game. We can't give them tools, and I'll just shut it down there. We get questions later, but I want you to know this is a very serious topic. And since George Floyd, everybody talking about reimagine, restructure, realign police. Why would you pass something that's gonna have more engagement with the police and the Black and brown community? White communities don't have problems with the police. Asian communities don't have problems with the police. The Black and brown community, we have 400 years of problems with the police. It started with slave patrols. This is serious.
Let's give Corey a hand. Thank you, Corey. Speaking truth to power. Damon Jones.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
It is an honor to sit here with my brothers from law enforcement and Dr. Ben to have a discussion on the menthol ban. Now, I do understand. I'm also a health and wellness coach. I get it. Like we're trying to make a healthy America. We are trying to make Black communities healthier. But when we look at laws that are very biased, so we know the numbers. 95% of Black people smoke menthol. Over 80% of white people smoke non-menthol. So white people can smoke with impunity. Black people have to suffer. We could do better, right? If we're gonna go for the health road, then let's ban meat, right? Meat causes heart disease, right? Meat causes bowel cancer. Meat does the same effects to your body as smoking cigarettes. And what's crazy about it is that when you go on the American Heart Association website and you look at and you look at the recipes that they offer meat, knowing that meat causes heart disease. So we just cannot pass laws that are symbolic. We have to look at things that's realistic in Black communities. We are sitting here in the city of Mount Vernon that doesn't have a functioning hospital. 80 to 90,000 people, and they do not have a functioning hospital. But that's a health concern. That's where we need to focus on. We need to put our efforts, city, county, and state, into making sure Black and brown people, poor people, can at least go to the hospital. These are things, look, my man Ken right there, he gives out fresh fruits and vegetables. Let's finance him. Let's take that $1.9 million and help him feed the Black community fresh fruits and vegetables, so they don't have to go to Mickey D's and get all this processed food that will give them heart disease, high blood pressure, right, diabetes, right? If we want to help the Black community in their health efforts to be healthy, there's a lot of things we could do instead of passing a law that's really going to punish Black people and cause a Black market, because now we got weed is legal now, right? So I work in a jail 33 years. So what's the next hustle? The next hustle is going to be menthol cigarettes. That's going to be the next hustle. Because see, we ain't making all this money off weed, but we could charge $25, $30 for a pack. And people are gonna buy them because some people are poor, they can't get on, they can't get on the bus, they can't walk to the Bronx, right? And they get so we're gonna create an economic system based on a law that's really not making people healthy. If we wanna make people healthy, let's treat cigarettes as an addiction. That's how we do that. We treat it as an addiction. And we help people, and we change the culture. Let's fix some of these parks so these kids can exercise, so they don't have to sit and be obese playing PlayStation all day. Let's do things in our community to help people be healthier, and instead of passing laws that's gonna let one group of people, because of their color, go with impunity and punish another group of people because of their color.
I'm also an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ. And sometimes things happen every day. It just tells you that some of us in our own communities, we don't confer with one another enough. About 3 hours ago, I got a call from one of my publishers in Detroit. He said, man, just want to let you know that we're getting ready to support this band on Menthol. I said, what? Well, who are you talking to? Oh, we talked to the governor, we talked to some people in the mayor's office, and it looks like I said, have you talked to the Detroit police chief? I said, well, what are you talking about? How can you call me and tell me you're gonna do something and you're not even informed on the consequences of your actions? Now, there's something called unintentional consequences. But on the other hand, there's something called intentional consequences.
Especially today.
Right. And then there are going to be consequences. And a lot of the people that are promoting the so-called menthol ban are talking about they're not going to be in the consequences. That's because they don't have a full understanding of the dynamics that take place in Black and brown communities across America. And New York sets trends for the rest of the nation. And that's why we're in Westchester this evening, because we want to inform the brothers and sisters who live here. We've been all over the state. We were at the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus up in Albany, had a great session. And even some state legislators came and said, well, wow, we didn't know. And I'm not pointing a finger at them, I understand, but that's our job to help them be better informed. And I'm so glad that so many of you took time out tonight. I know this is Friday night. Y'all could be doing a lot of other things, but you're here discussing a very, very important topic. And we're gonna open it up and see if any of you have any questions. Yes, I saw one hand go up. Let me get her hand was first, and I get you.
This is for David, or really for anyone, but I'm just gonna ask you to sort of repeat yourself from what we were talking about before this started, and if you could elucidate how this bill is the new stop and frisk, because you broke it down for me quite simply earlier, whoever was able to do that.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. Why it's a new stop and frisk? Because it's going to be the new thing that the cops are going to use. You don't know the difference between the camera and the Newport, because the cops are gonna find out cigarettes are banned, menthol cigarettes are banned. So all they're gonna see is smoke. It's like when they pulled you over before marijuana was legal, they smell marijuana in the car. There they go, like, oh, you smoking marijuana. We gotta do a stop, let's search the car, let's get the dog there. Same thing with the menthol. That's what's gonna happen.
So the legislation says that it's just banning the sale and it's not gonna penalize anyone. You can still smoke your menthols, you can own the menthols, you just can't purchase them in Westchester County. But you guys were saying that's just the first step. So walk me through what happens after that.
Yes, no, but that's true what they're saying. But what's gonna happen is the scenario I told you, the underground is going to explode.
Absolutely.
Right now, we're in New York State, 50% of cigarette sold is already illegal. You see the bust on TV, News 12, y'all covered up bodegas, they got illegal, they got buttons and all kind of stuff, popping up cigarettes.
Exactly.
And so New York State is losing like $1 billion in tax revenue already. It's happening. And you're never going to go to jail for the cigarette because it's not going to be a misdemeanor or a felony. It's never gonna be that. So they're gonna have to find something else to lock you up for. Just like Eric Garner, just like George Floyd, just like Sandra Bland. It's never gonna be the cigarette. So I don't want people to be bamboozled. Last point. I don't know if you get a chance to look at Crack on Netflix. I'm prominently featured in Crack. But forget about me. I don't want any legislator in Westchester County to be Charlie Rango, who said on crack, I should have never signed a 94 crime bill. But guess what? 3.5 million black and brown people was in jail, lives disrupted, and we're still dealing with it. So, what they did with the crack era, just threw all the black people in jail. Right now, we got an opioid issue that deal with white people. Guess what they doing? Treatment, counseling, education. I'm not even mad at them.
Exactly.
I'm happy that they're doing. I'm happy they're not locking all these white kids up because they shouldn't. An addiction, you can't arrest your way out of an addiction. And menthol, if you don't know, it's not even an addiction. Guess what the addiction is? Nicotine.
Exactly.
Nicotine is in every cigarette.
Exactly.
Every single one. So this is the only reason that we on this panel got on this was if nicotine is the addiction, why are we not banning all cigarettes? Why are we just banning cigarettes that affect one segment of the community? When we already live in a low socioeconomic neighborhoods, when you talk, if I did a survey right now in this room, we want to stop something in the community. What's the top issues you want to deal with? One is going to be crime, right? Two is probably going to be diabetes. Three is get rid of these Chinese food stores, get rid of the liquor stores, which is the biggest illegal drug in America. And by the way, they say cancer with smoking is killing people. You're right. But guess what the age is? 69. But guess what the #1 killer of black males from 15 to 29 is? Homicide. You can't get to 69 without getting to 29. It's like, you can't bamboozle us. We got over 100 years of law enforcement experience here. So you can't bamboozle, you can't tell me nothing. You can tell me, you can trick me about some widgets, but you can't tell me about law enforcement. I know this code as well as the rest of the panel.
And just this week, the President of the United States issued an executive order pardon everyone in the United States who's ever been stopped by a federal agent for marijuana. So thousands of people, thank God, will have their records expunged, who should never have been arrested in the first place. who should never been, and what they're probably gonna find out, marijuana was just the threshold to get them to charge with other things.
Exactly.
Because once you pull it over and they smell the marijuana, they're gonna search your car, they're gonna find something else to charge you with. So what I'm saying is, for the President of the United States to admit, while he's president, that there has been an injustice, a contradiction in public policy of how it was enforced when it comes to communities of color. This is what we're talking about here. We're trying to prevent this from happening. I think we should learn from history, not repeat history.
Exactly.
And guess who was the sponsor of the 94 crime bill? The President of the United
States
States.
of America.
Clinton
Joe
and
Biden.
Biden.
So do you mind if I just ask a quick follow-up, just to clarify? I really don't want to take up anyone else's time, but are you saying that, that the police will approach you because of the smell of the menthol and then use it?
No, it's not just the cigarette.
Just for the cigarette, and then use that for what? If right now.
Precursor stop.
To investigate.
Cops,
Take the mic.
yeah, precursor stop, right? Just like cops. Air fresheners in the window, unobstructed view. Kidding me? That's what we use to stop people. Unobstructed view. Tail light out, that's a stop. Like all these menial things. And that's what it's gonna fall into. It's gonna fall into that category.
Are we actually gonna believe in 2022 that they're gonna allow all these young black kids to make all this money off of menthol cigarettes? Are we gonna sit here and really think we're gonna pass this law? And these young kids out here, I've been working with kids locked up for 33 years. It's gonna be the new hustle. And you're gonna see Mercedes Benzes, you're gonna see all types of stuff out here because they're gonna get paid. They are getting paid. So are we gonna actually sit here and think that they're gonna allow all these little young black kids to make all this damn money tax-free and they ain't gonna change the law? We are fooling ourselves. We are definitely fooling ourselves right here. But what we're also looking at, we're looking at the same disparity as the crack cocaine, powder cocaine, right? Because it was a disparity. Black people smoke crack cocaine. It's the same drug, but they got more years. White people, powder cocaine, they got less years. We're doing the same thing. We're criminalizing the menthol cigarettes, and we're not criminalizing the regular cigarettes, which is the same nicotine. It's the nicotine. So we have to really look at that. And I go back. They're not going to allow these black kids to make all these millions of dollars off of cigarettes, and they're not going to do anything about it. Let's just be. I'm just being straight honest. We have looked. We've known how history works, and we know how the system works. And we can say anything we want that nothing's going to happen. But when these kids start riding around these big trucks with all these packs of cigarettes in the back, out on the corner, slinging cigarettes like crack, somebody's going to do something. Somebody's going to do something. And then what are we going to say?
Charles.
Yeah, but let's look at it at another way too also. It's going to be used as an instrument to harass those who may not be doing anything but just smoking that one cigarette. So now all of a sudden that one person or a group of kids hanging out and somebody's smoking a cigarette, first thing the police is going to do is going to want to know where you got it from, who's selling it, how much they got, and how can we connect to them. So now the kids are now being harassed in forms we really don't want to go down to. That was the initial idea of what the Stop and Frisk was. The Stop and Frisk came about because they wanted to go after drugs, they wanted to go after guns, so they would harass the kids, search them on an ongoing basis. By searching them and harassing them, all they did was force the kids, or try to get the kids to give up who's selling the guns, who's selling the drugs, and those issues. So this is what's going to happen. Now, I tell you the truth, none of us are promoting smoking. I don't even have an ashtray in my house or a cigarette lighter in my car. So the idea of it is how do you look at it? And let's take it a little further. Let's look at the individuals who are out on probation, who are out on parole. Now, these same individuals who are trying to get their life straight are now going to be harassed because the average cop is going to go to them, along with the parole and the probation officer, to ask them who's hustling the cigarettes in the neighborhood. So now we just escalated even more. So we went from the kids to maybe some of the young adults and some of the older adults who are trying to turn their lives around. So the issue is that these legislators and politicians who are trying to pass these laws, it's a good effort, but they need to bring it back to the people. They need to have real community forums. They really need to have real community discussions with real people in the communities, not these advocate groups who have their own personal agenda. They need to bring it back to the neighborhoods and sit down and talk to the real people who they're really going to affect. And let's keep in mind too also, let's look at the mom and pop stores that are in the neighborhoods who thrive off selling the cigarettes. Some of them won't even exist anymore, wasn't from the sale of the cigarettes. Some of them just barely getting by, and particularly during this COVID era, by selling the cigarettes to pay their rent. And this is New York, so rent always goes up. So the thing is now is that it should be a conversation about bringing this back to the table. And it's amazing how these politicians and legislators talk about how they want to save everyone, but we elected you, but yet still though you telling us what we're going to do, instead of coming back to us and have real conversations. This is what it's all leading to. It's not trying to promote anything or trying to push anything in anyone's face. We're just trying to bring it back to a point where we can have real dialogue, real conversations about the issue and how it's going to affect us, not these politicians. How it's going to affect the communities they represent and the districts they represent. That's the key part to all of this.
Yes, we have a policy assistant in the back.
Hi, my name is Damaris Monet. I have a question. So I happen to be a Newport smoker. I've been smoking since I was 15 years old. I'm 53. So I do have a question, one of a couple things. So if I now have to buy my cigarettes in the Bronx, am I gonna get busted for going over county lines?
Yes,
with
it's
an illegal
possible, yes.
substance? Right, so that's possible.
Do you know it's illegal to transport a large amount of cigarettes across state lines?
Right, so my question is, so if I was a heroin addict, I would get help, right?
Yes.
And then when I smoked pot as a teenager and was worried that I was gonna be targeted, now I don't have to worry about that. But now I have to worry about the fact that I may be in the car or holding my Newports in my hand in Westchester County, and now I have to worry about that?
Yes.
Yes, it's like, it's funny. It's like I always say, I got a 22-year-old son. He smoked more weed than everybody in this room combined. But they made it legal. So you're telling me my 22-year-old could smoke. But Nana, who's 85, she was smoking for 60-something years. She can have a cigarette?
Right.
She is gonna get her cigarette. But guess what Nana gotta do? Midnight, Nana gotta put that robe on and walk down the block and go to a dark alley to meet one of the drug dealers. They're not drug dealers, they're Newport dealers. And Nana might get robbed.
Or say the nephew.
Exactly. So this is what we're talking about. Let me give you super facts. For the last 30 years, smoking cessation has gone down. 63%. It's gone down. Better than that. Y'all remember Billy D. Williams, Joe Cool Campbell, the Jazz Cool Fest? Since 1998, the master agreement with the tobacco companies, they can't advertise. There's no more advertising with the tobacco company. The only way they can advertise is point of sale, which is in the store, which is, they are selling stuff. So you go in the store, you'll see the Newport sign. That's it. No more Joe Cool, LeBron James, Steph Curry, none of them, Michael Jordan. You'll never see them doing it because the tobacco companies cannot do it. They spend less than 2% of their money on advertisement. This is a real serious issue, and like Charles eloquently put it, it should be, for me, I think it should be a referendum. If they're gonna do anything, put it on the ballot and let the citizens decide.
And even then, I mean, that's still a personal decision that we all make. I mean, I'm old enough to know that.
Bingo. You're 21 or older, you should be able, we can't have the federal government, the government just local and cities telling us everything. Cigarettes been illegal over 100 years. So if you 21 years old or older and you watching that commercial and the lady going, she can't, right? If you watching that commercial, if you watch that commercial and you decide that you want to smoke cigarettes, that's on you. You understand? But that's a part of, remember the last 30 years, that's education. The treatment counseling, they put, the money is already out there. That war on drugs, how about, can you imagine if we closed our eyes and took the billions and billions of dollars that we've spent on the war on drugs and we put it to counseling, treatment, and education, Doc, which you've been fighting for forever?
We got a lot of hands that's straight, and brother in the back, and then the sister in the red. Delta.
Mine is it's a question and an opinion. It's like, this is the trick bag. You know, why don't we get it? Why are we still participating? By the way, at the Belly, to my heart age since I was 16 years old. Anyway, why are we still participating in voting when we getting screwed every time? Every time they come put on their, you know, koofies and everything, they come in, they press the HUD for votes, and then after they get in, we're forgotten about. And then I look at Rosa Parks, right? You look at that and say, why haven't we, you know, it's hurt them financially. One thing they care about most is money and keeping the male black man down. That's really it. And I just don't understand why we keep voting. I live in Brooklyn. I can go to Eastern Parkway. I can take a train 3 stops, go to Chinatown. I can go to Brighton Beach. And I see those communities, without the voting crap and all that, they let their economics and their unity. You understand what I'm saying? We have no unity, no everything like everybody's talking about. So it's always gonna be something. But if we keep hurting ourselves and keep participating in voting, and our politicians, they're not doing nothing. Nothing has changed. My grandmother's dead, like I always say. She's 90. She could have watched the same things from 1905 and turned on the TV here in the 90s to 2000, and still black men getting killed and this, that, and that, and all this. They try to destroy us from every way. And this is the last thing. I know we don't like Clarence Thomas too much, but in this book, he said something that was real interesting. It was like, he's like, you don't want us to go back to the physical part of, you know, Jim Crow and all that stuff when they started up Black Wall Street, but we were better together. We should get that mentality. So understand what I'm saying? Let's support business. Let's support everything black. But, you know, we participate in this white man thing too much. And this is the last one. We have penetrated them more than any enemy in the world. We're in their police, their jails, their banks, their this, their that. You let that be the Palestinians, and this place won't be no more the way we, you know, where we live. Why can't we just get some heart, man? I know I'm saying a lot, but
I'll touch on this. Back in the mid to late 2000s, in New York City, was a big push to more or less get rid of soda because of the sugar count and the sugar calories and everything else. It was a real big push. You're talking about millions, close to billions of dollars that was being funneled into stopping the fast food chains from selling sodas, the regular mom and pop stores from selling sodas, because there were certain people who didn't want to see soda anymore. So they took it on as a personal agenda. It went on and it went on. And then eventually it fell because the people said you was crazy. You can't tell me what to drink. But it came back in the idea of a conversation. All right, fine. We can't stop you from drinking soda, but we can talk about the calorie counts. Now they show on the menus and things like that. That's cool. But it came back to the table where we was able to talk about it and talk about the need and the necessities of how it was going to be about. Now, I was part of the lawsuit in New York City when they sued for the stop and frisk. And the moment it went to court, we filed our amicable briefs and everything along with it. And it came back to us in the idea of a discussion about how is it really effective. And we said, finally, somebody came back and said, you know something, it's not working. And we've been saying this for years because a lot of black officers, particularly those of color, was being penalized, punished in certain ways because they couldn't keep up with quotas and those productivity numbers to get those searches, those summonses and things like that. This is what it's leading back to. And this is what I'm trying to bring up now. All it needs is just to have real conversations, not people dictating to individuals how to live. Listen, I'm against smoking, I really am. My father died of lung cancer. But the issue is that I truly believe it's a person's choice. God gave us free will, and it's up to us to make that decision.
Thank you, Sister Andrea. And then you, Sister.
Sir, my question was answered. I wanted to discuss more about, because we're gonna have so many people watching this. I wanted someone to talk about the history between the disparities with the drug laws. That was addressed I just think it's an important thing as we continue to watch this program, because we have so many people who don't know that historically people could traffic large volumes of cocaine and have very small sentences versus someone just having a small bottle of crack at one point in time.
Yeah, I can't speak for anyone else. I'm from the South Carolina, to be precise. Every time my family knows I'm going south, first thing they ask me, it's not about bringing food or anything back. Yo, we need those cigarettes. And particularly, I have family that lived in Connecticut, and the prices are kind of high there, and they are much cheaper in the South. So the issue is yo, can you bring me back a couple of cartons? So this is an ongoing thing. So is it going to stop? And the saddest thing about it, I guess you'll look at me as a bad guy, but we're talking about my family. So I'm going to look out for my family one way or the other. And I will get on their case about smoking, but still, if I don't do it, another family member will.
Yes, Sister Hill.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Westchester County Legislator Jewel Williams Johnson, and I appreciate you holding this forum.
Do you mind can I give her the mic so we can record what she's saying as well?
Yeah, sure.
No problem.
I wanted to address the first and foremost thing that I'd like to address is that me being here is part of hearing the community, for one thing. Both Damon and, I'm sorry, Mr. Charles attended our health committee meetings, which are held weekly, sometimes twice a week. I have the record for holding the most health committee meetings amongst any committee on the Board of Legislators this year. And they're all open to the public. And you two came to that meeting. And I think you were able to vent and indicate all of your opposition and views. I don't think we held you back from sharing what you wanted to share. What everyone's talking about is this is the new stop and frisk. And I have to say that's misrepresentative. We told you during the committee meeting that this is not a criminal offense. It will not be under the public safety or police at all. It is under the Department of Health, and is specifically and solely will be addressing business owners, store owners, convenience store owners who will be selling flavored tobacco, not just menthol, but flavored. I've asked Carol McGruger to speak, and she'll introduce herself. She can talk to you about the science. But it's all flavored tobacco that is the first enticement to our children. The one number I'd like to say that if you keep anything in your mind is that 45,000 African Americans die from flavored tobacco health issues every year. That's not something that we should gloss over or forget about. And again, it's not the new stop and frisk. It'll be under the health inspector's purview, not police.
You are delusional. I'm
Not
sorry.
a criminal
Hold
offense.
on, bro.
I think that rude
It is.
interrupt anyone when they were
Respect.
talking, so I will listen to you again
I
after
got
you
you.
let
I
me
got you.
finish.
Jury de facto.
So that's the first thing, that it's a misdemeanor fine to the business owner, not a criminal offense. The other thing that I think is very important is that we are We do plan to include sensation education and programs. We have a meeting about that this Tuesday that all of you are welcome to come to. But biggest of all, I don't think we should facilitate and help tobacco companies enrich themselves at the risk of people's lives and at the risk of Black people's lives. Everyone that smokes a flavored tobacco, of course, has the right to do it, has the right to risk their lives. But I think in Massachusetts and dozens of counties of California that have had this ban, in Minnesota, and I think Montana, and Massachusetts, I said, it's just starting. One of the things that the lobbyists from the convenience stores pointed out, and we did research on, is that they themselves issued their own memo speaking of how they have to adapt to the trend, where they can't be dependent on cigarette sales and gasoline sales in the future, because it's going to fade away. We're turning from gasoline to electric powered cars, and we know that flavored tobacco has additives, cancer causing additives, not like weed, and not like tobacco, not like unflavored tobacco. It's the flavored tobacco that causes the worst health implications for us. Everyone, I just want to take a minute and introduce Carol Magruder. Do you want to?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Hi, I'm Carol Magruder, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council, and we are leading the national fight to get mentholated tobacco products out of the Black community. And I want to say something, I want to acknowledge something, because in this room tonight, there's an invisible wolf, and that wolf is the tobacco industry cartel, who are sponsoring many of these conversations that we need to have. It's very important, but they don't need to be in the room with us, because they have perniciously and racistly targeted our community. They have seeded these products so that people, when they're 15 years old, think they're making a choice of free will, giving these products away to children as young as 9 years old, like Marie Evans in Boston, a woman who's dead, who would be alive, who would be my age if she were alive. So we're at the head of this fight.
I just want to say that I started off with Marlboros and eventually moved to Newports, but I get what you're saying.
Yes.
Either way, when
Yes,
it's an addiction.
and so there isn't advertising, but there are all the stores in our neighborhoods that are the vector of this disease. And so addiction is a communicable disease. It spreads in communities by the creation of social norms. We have sued the FDA with our co-plaintiffs, Action on Smoking and Health, the American Medical Association, and the National Medical Association, which is our nation's Black doctors. The FDA is in the rulemaking process to stop making these products, so there would be nothing to smuggle, because they would not be making them anymore. The European Union has banned them, Canada has banned them. There was never a conversation about what Black people wanted or preferred, because those places did not endure the racist, pernicious targeting that we have been enduring while we've been fighting for our civil rights, fighting for our liberty. The tobacco industry is there paying people off, buying our media, Ebony and Jet, the Cool Jazz Festival.
Now, you can't say that.
Ignore.
You can't say that.
So that's what people need to know. And I'm here to answer. Our website is savingblacklives.org. We work to save the 45,000 Black people who die every year directly. 1 million Black people in the past 20 years. NAACP, Delta Sigma Theta, Sorority Incorporated, the National Medical Association, they all want these products off the market. We are fighting for cessation. We are fighting for services for our people. It's not about one law. A law's not magic. We're still fighting for our voting rights. So it's not magic, but it's about the whole public health community coming to support our people, saying you can get off of these addictive products. And so when you say, on one hand, the person is going to get up and go out in the middle of the night to get these things because they're addicted. And we have to stop the next generation of our children from becoming addicted to these products.
Excuse me, I would like to ask a question regarding this. I'm not familiar with your, with this legislative process. But
Can you, we don't want to lose control of things, so if you want,
let's go.
everybody should be recognized. I recognize the sister who was the health official from the county.
Yeah.
And she passed the mic, so I appreciate it. And I'm sure when you have hearing, sister, you don't lose control of your hearing, right?
Right.
Now I'm talking to the sister who put it in. All right, so with all due respect, let's keep the sister who's proposing in favor of the ban, she has a right to speak, that's fine. But I want to make sure we don't lose order here, all right? So sister, if you want to ask a question, ask for the mic and I'll give you the mic, sir. Okay, I'm finished. And then when you finish, you can pass the mic back up.
Of course. Good evening. My name is Shez Darden, and I don't want to lose the trajectory of this conversation. I just want to make a simple comment with regards to what was stated. I'm not familiar with the legislative organization. However, I just want to say that with the veracity of which these two women spoke, I hope that they would do the same when it comes to healthy eating and healthy lifestyle. I haven't seen that.
And we do.
Well, yeah, I just wanted, you know, I was the executive at NYPD, I'm a numbers man. That's how I kept my job. So you said how many people died with flavored cigarettes a year?
45,000.
Well, the CDC, you could Google yourself. You know how many people died from gunshot wounds? Did you look at that? Or you just focus on cigarettes?
Homicides for black people.
No.
For black
47,000. The latest records.
Black people.
The latest records. The latest records.
I'm asking again.
Yeah, we're not gonna go back and forth.
We're not in a debate.
No.
No.
Did I know? And I do know. He asked me a question.
But I want you to show some respect. Because you came down to Washington DC last week and did the same thing. No, I'm gonna check you. I'm gonna check you. I'm gonna check you. I'm the moderator. I'm gonna check you. I'm asking you, no, you don't, sister, be respectful. When you spoke, did we interrupt you?
We didn't say a word.
Did we interrupt
He
you?
asked me a question.
So I'm asking you to be respectful.
He asked me, did I know? And I did.
I'm asking you to be respectful.
I am respecting you, Dr. Chapman.
Because see, this is our problem, going back to what the young brother said. We lose respect for one
I
another.
am respecting you.
We can disagree. We can disagree, but not being disagreeable.
I am respecting you.
You're not being respectful.
I am.
All right, but the whole.
Can you let him make his point?
I am.
Then I
Let me just
recognize
make my
everybody.
point.
But look, we're gonna have an orderly, I'm so glad we're in Westchester.
That's a diversion, man.
Because Westchester,
We
exactly.
need a diversion.
Westchester is emblematic of the rest of New York. And particularly in the black and brown community. While we may have these public forums, if we don't take time to listen to one another in a brotherly and a sisterly way, we're never gonna make it. And so I call for order. I'm gonna recognize all the hands in here, that everybody get their chance, but everybody should be respectful. And I'm asking, when somebody is speaking, please do not interrupt. Show respect.
Yeah, so just a couple of points I wanted to hit on. So there's as many people dying from gunshots. You talk about it's not gonna be the new stop and frisk. We know, we're not gonna be bamboozled on that. I think we explained clearly how it's going to be the new stop and frisk in America. Let's just be clear. We love opposition, it's fine. I have no problem with opposition. You know, it's like my kids, you know, it's three sides, you know, right, wrong, and the truth. So it's all right. You can come here and say whatever you want. But our position tonight is just to clearly state that as law enforcement experts for over 100 years, working with white cops, if you want to do the numbers in policing, it's overwhelmingly white male dominated. All right? And generations of traditions passed down. I'm telling you that. I'm first generation police. First generation. So I didn't have an uncle or grandfather telling me, but I did. But I did have a white partner. I did have a white partner that would come to work and tell me while we was out on patrol. My grandfather said, do this. I was like, grandfather, that was 1950. It's 1992. We don't do that no more. So let's just be clear. There is definitely some unintended consequences. And
Councilwoman Johnson, so that people know, every single bill, there's unintended consequences, am I right? Every bill, every single bill. That's why the politicians debate it. There's unintended consequences for every single bill. But I'm telling you, a menthol ban in the black and brown community, the unintended consequences is gonna be brothers and sisters going to jail for nonsense. And they're never gonna get locked up for the cigarette, ever.
Let me just say something, Doc, please.
Yes, and then I'll take this.
Well, he asked a question about the CDC stat, so I would like to respond to that.
Okay.
Oh, I just want to say, all right, so a lot of stuff was mentioned about the black community and what is targeted to the black community. So if we're gonna do this bill, let's put processed food, because that kills black people. Let's put Henderson. No, don't clap for it. I want it in the bill. No, it's not clap. I'm not here to clap for it. I want it, if we're gonna do menthol because of the everything, it's advertised to the black community, this is black community, then fine. Let's put menthol, let's put processed food, let's put McDonald's, let's put Burger King, let's put Subways, let's put all these businesses, all these white-owned businesses, right, that are in the black community, that are killing us. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna kill the little black and brown businesses on the corner. So if we're gonna do that, then let's put all them other, I'm a health and wellness coach, let's put them all on. I'm not promoting smoking, but I'm saying we have to be fair. And if we're not gonna be fair, if we're just gonna target black people because we say that we're doing it for black people's health, no, we have to teach them, right? I got a book. They buy the book, they say, oh my God, Damon, I lost 20 pounds. Teaching. But if we're gonna pass that law, let's put everything else that kills black people on it. Let's put black people on it too. Because we kill each other the most. If we're gonna ban, let's ban black people. I mean, you laughing, but the numbers, the stats say it. Let's ban black people. Put that on top, and then put that on top, then meat, then processed food, then menthol, then sugar, right? Right, and then what we also can do, let's change the diets of the inmates at the Westchester County Jail, because you could just check with them. Diabetes is on the rise. High blood pressure is on the rise. These are inmates that's locked up. You know why? We feed them processed foods. We feed them a whole bunch of sugar. We feed them all that, and then we allow them to buy commissary that is processed foods and bad for them. And there's a line down the hall at the county jail when they check for diabetes and high blood pressure. We have control over that immediately. But if we're gonna pass a bill, then let's put all that, and I'll be standing right with you, and put black people on top, because we kill each other the most.
All right, live discussion, brother.
Yeah, I don't need a mic.
No, we're trying to tell you.
Oh, recording. There's a lot of things said here, and there's a lot of issues. Listen, when you're talking about tobacco, this menthol, if that's the case, ban all tobacco. They're being hypocrites. You know what I'm saying? It's killing people, period. So why is this menthol? Because it comes to argument, it does turn into stop and frisk. It's just a matter of time, because people are not gonna listen. They're addicted. And if people are addicted, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. And they're gonna get it whatever way they can get it. So that's gonna create stop and frisk. And then they're gonna have people snitching on the next person. Exactly. So you're creating the problem. So if you're gonna be honest about it. If you're gonna affect our community, affect all communities.
That's right.
Don't be a hypocrite.
No, I'm not being a hypocrite.
No, but you're following the law. You're trying to create something because you're supporting it. You got to think it out first. That's just what he said earlier.
Okay, I would like to be respectful, so may I respond to him?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all,
Wait,
I'm not being.
Have the mic first, so they can record.
Not being a hypocrite. And what I would appreciate if everyone gets it right, this is not a menthol ban, it is a flavored tobacco ban.
What does that include?
All flavors.
No, that includes
Including
blunts,
menthol?
that includes
Wait,
cigars.
who
Can I, let's not get out of hand. You can easily go on the westchesterslegislators.com website.
No, but you can't explain it. Is menthol a part of it?
Yes.
Is menthol smoked by 90% of black and brown people?
I believe it's.
Don't believe, you can't, you
more
can't
than just
waver.
black and
You
brown.
can't waver now. You were staunch on your numbers and now you're wavering. Is menthol smoked by 90%
Okay, what you're not
black
gonna
and
do
brown?
is overtalk me. Ellen will answer your questions. I have no problem speaking. I'm here. I have no problem responding and speaking.
Go ahead, man.
So you can easily go on the website and see the draft of the law. Menthol is part of the part of the proposed flavored tobacco ban. Yes, concretely, it is part of it. No question about it. It is part of it. And it's because it's part, the reason it's part of it, because the menthol additives affect your health more. The flavored and the menthol additives cause cancer more than anything else, more than regular cigarettes. Why are you shaking your head? It's the truth.
Yeah, let her finish.
It fosters the easiness of the smoke going into your lungs, whether you're chewing tobacco in your gums. It makes it more soothing than regular tobacco. You asked me about CDC and guns. I'm very concerned about that. That's why I was a sponsor on the warning, the gun shop warning signage. It's not a one. It's not a one-stop priority. The health committee covers many, many topics. So just to be clear, this proposal is not an addition to the criminal law. Again, it's flavored tobacco. And all of you who are talking about it's just the Black community, that's not true. We know that there are many others than Black people that smoke flavored tobacco. And you can't get away from the fact that the additives for the flavor increase cancer in our bodies, whether you're Black or white. The other thing that I would like Dr. Chavez to acknowledge is, Chavis, I'm so sorry, forgive me. I'd like you to acknowledge if you disclose how, any lobbying fees you're getting from tobacco companies to promote these types of forums or not.
Sure, no, we don't get any lobbying fees.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification.
Just tell them I should have.
Well, we got a lot of sophisticated statement, and we don't want to get into a debate. I would just say, Sister, with all due respect, you need to check out your science and your statistics. My undergraduate degree is in chemistry. What you said that the additive menthol flavor increases cancer, that is not true. That is not scientifically true. So just check it out. Because if you're going to promote this, I want to make sure that you have all of the facts.
We have, in response to that, we have checked it out. Anyone can go onto the website. We've had long discussion with doctors about that fact.
Okay, I'm not talking about.
And it's part of the minutes and it's part of the agenda. You can easily see that.
You want people to go to the website. I'm saying that your statement that the menthol additive increases cancer in African Americans and other people who call that as well as other people is not accurate. That's all I'm saying. That is not accurate.
I would just.
That is not scientifically true. Okay, just for the record. Now, let's.
For the record, I would dispute that.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yes.
It's just I'm just gonna make another point because I see that back and forth also. But I also listen to the things where they say 4 out of 5 dentists only approve such a, so I want to know who the other one is that disagrees, okay? But what I wanted to say is that she's one county legislator. There are other additional county legislators here. Why can't we find out what their views is on this particular topic by asking them those questions and where they stand on those things as well?
further.
It should have been introduced.
Can I respond to that? And it's, I mean, it's no more than what I said earlier, and I thank you for allowing me to be part of that Zoom meeting that day, or whatever kind of meeting it was. But, and I brought it out there about the idea, and I said it there earlier, about the idea of discussion. I understand you have certain information on your website, people can go to it, but my question would be to you is, why aren't it being more publicized to invite people from the community to be part of these so-called open health meetings for people to come in? I guarantee you, I would probably say the majority of the individuals in here, and most likely 7 out of 10, never know anything about this. Not until probably tonight. And I guarantee you, the people in this county, I would probably say the same number. 7 out of 10 probably ain't got a clue about anything that's going on until it happened. So my question is why isn't it being more publicized about the ban, or the reason why you want, reason why the legislators want the ban, and why aren't there open meetings where people can literally come in and see it and hear what goes on?
All of the Westchester County Board committee meetings are open. It's always been that way, except.
Yeah, but nobody knows.
I don't know if I agree with you or not, but anyone here that didn't know, please know and understand that the committee meetings and the Board of Legislators bi-monthly meetings are open to the public and have always been so. During the pandemic, it was virtual, but since the governor's executive order, anyone is free to come to any of the committee meetings at any time. Next one for help is Tuesday at 1 p.m.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Johnson. I am the majority leader of the Westchester County Board of Legislators. I represent District 16, which is wholly located within the city of Yonkers, with a few other legislators, including David Tubiolo, that represents part of Yonkers and part of Mount Vernon. So let me just go backwards. I agree with you that the information of the work that we do on a regular basis, right, is not greatly known by the public. There are a multitude of reasons for that, and I want to give a shout out to AJ for the work that you do as Black media. But media coverage is one, right? We can only do but so much, right? We all push on our social medias. We have a communications department that asks people to show up, that asks the media to share information. We have word of mouth, so on and so forth. But people do have lives, and to know what's going on the federal level, the state level, the county level, the city level, in your local school district, that's asking a lot of people, and that's why we have representative government. But this is also why we have representative government, which is a whole conversation that I can get into, but I won't. I fully agree with, I want to apologize for my timing because I missed a lot of the conversation, but I did hear when you guys came to the committee meeting, at least some of that. But I fully agree with the Health Committee Chairwoman, Legislator Julie Johnson. I do want to add to the fact that when we talk about the choices that people make, and people should have freedom of choice, that I 100% agree with that. However, when you are addicted to something, you're not making a choice anymore, right? You are addicted, like you are literally going out of your way to do something, and in this case, do something that's going to kill you, right? So when we talk about, at one of the health committee meetings, a scholar, scientist, I'm not sure what the gentleman's work was leading up to that point, but he talked about how specifically in menthol, that Black people, because of the melanin in our skins, it absorbs the chemicals differently. And listen. So the reality is, and let's also recognize the fact, whether or not that's true, that we know seriously that the tobacco industry has targeted our communities, right? So if I tell you that if you're Black, you pay 50 cents, and you're white, you pay $1, more Black people are going to buy said product than white people. That's just true. That's what the tobacco industry did with menthol cigarettes. In addition, right, if I said, I'm going to give you this for free, and then you're going to get addicted to it, it doesn't matter how much it costs tomorrow, because now you're addicted, even though I gave it to you for free. Like, we as a people have to recognize that we were preyed upon. And so this is a health conversation, right? And I recognize the potential public safety implications, and that's why we made sure to change who does the enforcement with regards to this law. The enforcement will be done by the health department. They don't carry weapons. They don't carry handcuffs. They don't do any of that. They got ticket writing ability, and that is it. It is only to those who legally have the license to sell these products, which is convenience stores and other types of places where you go purchase your goods and services. So that is my thought. Thank you, Mayor Wallace, for acknowledging us and making sure that we had the opportunity to share.
We're gonna go to Corey, then to.
We're gonna clear up, I'm gonna clear up some stuff really quick. So we gotta be totally clear here. When you say, cause I don't know if the health committee, if y'all being bamboozled, but the health cops, when you start going into these stores, I was a cop for a lot of years. We did these, you call them task force. Yeah, health department is running it, but they're not going into these neighborhoods without the police. That's number one that y'all, I think y'all a little bamboozled on that. The health department is totally, everywhere around the country, they say the health department is in charge of it. But guess when they go in the stores, who they call? They call the cops.
Backup.
Because they need the backup. They're not going into these illegal bodegas, convenience stores, gas stations without the police. So that's what, and I'm not telling y'all to change your mind. I'm just giving y'all facts. Look at Chicago. Chicago, the illegal underground cigarettes is so out of control, they created a task force. They got a task force. And just because I don't think nobody in this room knows that crack, cocaine, marijuana is all illegal. I could walk out the door right now and get crack, cocaine, marijuana. So when you make the ban, it ain't about the tobacco company is not gonna lose their billion-dollar industry by making some illegal Newports. No, Boo Boo and Ramel gonna be making Newports and putting fentanyl in them. That's what y'all, we can't get bamboozled by what's going on. It's America. The product is here, the addiction is there, it ain't going nowhere. 6 years ago, vaping was a big issue, right? Vaping was a huge issue. They banned vaping. Guess what happened? Y'all remember they was making all illegal vape pens? All the white kids' lungs they was dying. They blowing their lungs out. They banned the vaping. Guess what they doing now? They regulated vaping. Yeah. Listen, I understand y'all think it's a health issue, but whenever you're making any decisions, you gotta look at every single side. And I'm telling you, this police side, because we just talked about Massachusetts. The councilwoman talked about Massachusetts, but I don't know if she called any of her colleagues in Massachusetts lately, because guess what they thinking about doing? They thinking about making cigarettes legal again, because guess who got the money? New York getting the money, Vermont getting the money, and guess what? They wanted to help with the health in Massachusetts, and guess what? Smoking cessation has not gone down. The cigarette is there, it ain't going nowhere. They're gonna get the cigarettes. I just don't want to see another Mama Garner standing on national TV crying because her child was murdered over a freaking cigarette. I don't want to see George Floyd's daughter at 2 years old. Yeah, she's gonna be a multi-millionaire, but guess what? She ain't never gonna see her daddy again. Sandra Bland murdered. The 15-year-old in California where it's banned. The cop thought he was smoking a menthol. He was smoking a Swisher. Cop 240 pounds on top of a 60-pound man. So all I'm asking the legislators in Westchester to do your homework, do it right. You gotta get all sides of the information and then make a educated guess. The last piece. So as a police commander in the police world, right? This is how we make decisions in the police world. Gather information, analyze it, and deploy. This is the answer. Deploy our personnel based on the information and analyzing. And that's what y'all need to do with your decision. Thank you.
All right, this brother's been waiting for a long time. I'm coming to you guys next.
Thank you.
I want to say a couple of things. First, I'm AJ Wilson from Black Westchester. And I want to say to all the county legislators here, I don't know Ms. Williams. I've never met you. but Chris knows me, David knows me, several others know me. If you want to get the word out to the black community about something and you want to get the black community there, Chris knows how to call me. I get emails about everything that y'all do want the word out, maybe not from you, but your colleagues, when y'all need to get a message out, when it's something that affects the black community. If you want them there, if you want them to know, all you gotta do is send me an email, I will gladly put it out. That's what I do. Secondly, when you talk about consequences, let's look at history. New York has one of the strictest gun bills, right? Mm-hmm. The guns ain't coming from New York. They're coming from all out of state. I live in Mount Vernon. I live where the pistols go pop. I hear them almost every night. But we got a strong gun bill here. But I still hear the guns every night. They're not coming from New York. It doesn't. Yeah, but it's not coming from New York. It's not coming from New York. I'm saying New York made this ban, and we still got the guns here, and people are still getting killed around the corner from me. I hear it in my window. They tried to prohibit alcohol back in the days. All you did was just underground alcohol thing. Mm-hmm. Alcohol, you want to talk about targeting black people? We haven't talked about malt liquor. Mm-hmm. Malt liquor, they had what's his name? Billy D. Williams drinking Coke 45. I mean,
Snoop Dogg,
make it cool.
And
you had all the rappers with St. Ives. Like, that was targeted black people. I was in the hip hop game. That's what they were using, hip hop, to target black people. Malt liquor has done more damage than cigarettes do. Malt liquor has been more drunk driving and all these other things that's killing people than cigarettes do. Nobody smokes a cigarette, gets behind a car and runs somebody down, and they get arrested for under the influence. So alcohol has had more damage, but we're not talking about alcohol. And I have to agree with Damon. And when I live in a city like Mount Vernon, there's not a lot of healthy options here to eat. Why aren't we talking about that? And as a member of the Save and Transform Mount Vernon Hospital, why are we not fighting for, why am I hearing the county talk about fighting for this hospital? Where we have more diabetes here, we have more health issues here, we have more trauma here, but we have no hospital that can cater to all of that. Where's the county? That's what we need your help. Where's the county, the state, the federal, all of y'all? We need help with that. That's a real issue. Where people have to you got a heart attack, you got to go to Jacoby, and minutes matter. You're going to Jacoby or wherever. Trauma. We got a hospital right there, but we don't have the services in there because nobody's making Montefiore do what they're supposed to do. Montefiore tells y'all one thing, they get all this money, they send it to New Rochelle and to the Bronx. Nobody's fighting for this hospital. That's a health issue.
That's right.
That's impacting black and brown people specifically in this city. So there's a lot of other things that we can be talking about. And let me just say, and as a smoker, I will say, I wasn't influenced by any of them commercials you're talking about. When I watch TV, and I'm a little older, it was white people I seen smoking cigarettes. CMC, Mike, all the cool detectives, they were all white. Chef wasn't smoking no cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? Jim Kelly and Jim Brown wasn't smoking no cigarettes. It was all white people. That's who I seen smoking cigarettes. So none of that stuff made me smoke. And made a lot of people I know smoke. So I think we need to gather information, and we need to bring it to the community, and we need to have this conversation. And statistically, smoking has gone down in the black community. And it's because of education, because it is a health issue, and y'all have turned it into a criminal justice issue. If I'm on the corner smoking a cigarette, I could be smoking a Marlboro, but from a distance, the filter of a Marlboro looks like the filter of a Newport. If I have a cop, and we have cops like that here, who are just gonna pull me over for no reason and want to stop me, they want to tell me what am I smoking, where I get it from. If it's illegal to sell it, then how's it not illegal to have it? I mean, seriously, that's what I don't understand. If it's illegal to sell, how is it not illegal for me to have it? So that's what. But it can't be two things at once. You can't illegal tell it's illegal to sell it, and then I'm walking with it and I have it. How is it not illegal for me not to have it in Westchester County if we can't buy it here? So I have a lot more to say, but there's other people want to talk.
Your car can drive 120 miles per hour. Your car can move 120 miles per hour. It's illegal to go 60.
Okay, we got respect.
Hey.
To be over.
Hi everyone, I know it's getting a little late, I'll be quick. I'm David Trujillo, proudly represent Mount Vernon and Yonkers. I just want to say something real quick. I appreciate this panel. I appreciate the discussion. I appreciate the community. And, before I go into the legislation, I just want to say thank you to my colleagues, Chris and Jewel, because was probably the proudest thing I was proud of. And before I go into the legislation, I just want to say something very special for Mount Vernon, was actually Memorial Field, which they helped myself and Tyree push. We did it as a team, and that was the biggest thing we probably did. I love Mount Vernon. We love Mount Vernon. We love you, and that was the proudest thing I probably did so far in my career. Now, just a little fun fact. That was 2 weeks ago. A week ago. Chris, you won that game, by the way?
You're from Yonkers, why would you do that?
I'm a Mount Vernon guy. Mount Vernon won. Anyway, now back to legislation. I'm here to listen to you, and I appreciate this conversation. I appreciate you. I'm happy to be here, and this is a very important issue to all of us. I appreciate the experience. I appreciate the stories and the personal experiences that everyone's had and everyone's unique point of view. So right now, I'm just listening. I'm happy to be here. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I can give you my personal information, my cell phone, my email. You can hit me up on Instagram, Facebook. I'm always going to make myself as accessible as possible to you. And I really appreciate this conversation. And I just want to say thank you, and we're listening, okay? Thank you so much, everyone.
So you're undecided at this point?
At this point, I'm listening, and I appreciate it.
All right, brother, you're gonna be there, stand up, yes.
I'm coming. All right, honey, you still have to speak too, right?
Yeah.
Let's speak. Well, he's been waiting for me, then you. Okay.
Good evening. Guys, I appreciate you coming out and us having this conversation. It's very important, but I just need to clear something up first. The issue with the cigarettes that we discussed up at in Albany at the caucus, that was about the state legislation, right? Yeah, so it was totally different than what we're discussing tonight.
It's the same, but it's just two different.
Yeah, it's like apples and oranges right now, yeah. All right, so to the legislator, your intentions might be genuine, all right? But what happens is there's a big demographic difference between Mount Vernon and Mount Kisco. There's a big difference in enforcement between Mount Vernon and Mount Pleasant. So even though the intentions are genuine or maybe come from a good heart, selective enforcement is what it's called. Police officers enforce laws from the city code of Mount Vernon to the penal law, any New York State law, and Westchester County laws. Yeah.
You, sir? Yes, who are you?
Who are you? And
Oh, I'm
what
sorry.
occupation?
My name is Sean Harris, just in case you didn't know. I'm the former police commissioner for Mount Vernon.
Thank you.
All right, and I worked here for 20 years. I grew up in the city. All right, so I grew up in the neighborhood in Mount Vernon where I used to have jump collars. I'm on my way to school to going to Salesian High School in New Rochelle, and I got narcotics cops jumping me. And they thinking I'm selling drugs. You understand? So that's what we're talking about as far as unintentional consequences. All right. So police, even though you say in the legislation that it's for health officers or health department officers, local police officers can enforce that law also. And even though you say it's about the sale, see, the sale could be traditionally in a store, but now once it hits the street, now it's selling. They still fall under the legislation of selling.
Exactly.
So I recently had a client that, well, it's all about interpretation. So your intention is, it is. That's all. See, let me tell you something. So let me tell you something. You guys are legislators. Hold on, let me just finish. I just gotta make.
We can sing together, but we can't talk together.
Let me just make this point. There's a lot of laws that are legislated with certain intentions. I just had a client that got charged and convicted under RICO. That wasn't part of a mafia, a gang, or anything. He was also charged with a public health law. That's how they charged with RICO. They started with a public health law that wasn't enforced in almost 80 years. And he was charged federally. You understand? Federally. But that was never the intentions. We have scholars. We had the guy that wrote the RICO law that said that the way the federal government prosecuted my client
was not the true intentions of the bill that was passed.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to just say here. It's not that we think you're evil or anything like that. It's just the fact of the unintentional consequences and the way whenever the tide swings, how that selective enforcement is put together. Like my brother said, when you get into the police department and you got certain issues, we use whatever available tools and resources to change whatever's going on in a certain community. And that's all that we're asking. And in the state level is worse. So just to let you know, before I hang up, yo, it can go from the county to the state, and now you're charging these young men with federal RICO laws because they transporting the cigarettes across state lines.
That's already illegal.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, but now it starts one place, it grows.
It does.
That's all we're saying.
That's already. Yeah, but
No, I understand that. It's already illegal, yes. No, I didn't say it's yours. All I'm saying is that it's an unintentional consequence. That now they'll pick on yours. And I gave you an example of how the federal government uses state law, a public health law, exactly. All right, that wasn't prosecuted. We couldn't find one person that was prosecuted under that law in 80 years. 80 years. And the law was about transport like a virus, a disease, giving it to somebody else. And because my client had a STD and he gave it to a woman, transported her across state lines.
And he went to jail.
Yeah.
On RICO charges.
On RICO charges.
Federal charges.
Federal RICO charges and got sentenced to 30 years.
3 or more people.
That's not the intention.
That's not the intent.
Right.
So we should.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about unintended consequences.
Bad prosecutors and bad cops.
Come on, bro.
It's not crazy.
Okay, look, you know, brothers and sisters, and I think all of you are my brothers and sisters. We don't need to shout.
Yeah.
It is emotional. And we're not here to judge somebody. We're not here to certainly prosecute you. And we're not here to prevent your side of this issue. I do just want us to hopefully conclude. We must learn from our history as a people. Whether it's a public health law, or a criminal law, an environmental law, whatever kind of law it is, whatever kind of regulation it is. When it comes to black and brown, there are always unintended consequences. And you may say, well, that wasn't our intent. That's the definition of unintended consequences. That's the definition. And all we want, dear sister, as you promote this, is to understand the potential for the unintended consequences. Even though you said in the bill, this is health, and the enforcement of it is only supposed to be done by, as you said, these health officers, right? Okay. That's your intention in the bill. And what we're saying, from our experience in law enforcement, from our experience in civil rights, there are unintended consequences that happen negatively against black and brown communities. And we don't want to see Westchester do something that's going to further harm your community. If it's a health issue, I'm glad somebody's working on health in this community. Mm-hmm. We need help. But I'm just saying that whatever is finally done, I don't want to come back up here with Mrs. Garner because some person, and this is Eric Garner's mother, she's here. Because what happened, her son gets choked to death. Now, was that intended by the people who passed the law in New York?
No.
Her son is dead today because of unintended consequences.
Race and class.
By well-thinking, well-motivated people. So I just, as we prepare to conclude this panel, and I'm glad everybody's here, you know, I would encourage to get further study for more than one type of person, because some of the research that has been cited here, I think can be challenged for its accuracy. And there are all kinds of scholars. And unfortunately, scholarship is not all sometimes based on contemporary research. Sometimes it's based on something that happened before. So whoever's advising you in terms of your scholarly, your science, I would just ask you, please double check it. Because the thing is, to be very honest, I think every life is precious. Every life is precious, no matter what age. And I think that elected officials, as well as people who are not elected officials, we need to find ways to work together to improve the overall quality of life of our communities. And without falling out with each other, or out, you know, getting in combat with each other. You know.
That's a disease too.
Well, I know, but sometimes we've been socialized to be negative toward one another, rather than to listen and to try to say, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. Maybe I can go back and just double check. I just think that this is so important. I want to thank the mayor, former mayor, for all of what you do in this building. I want to thank everybody for this panel. I think we've had a very informed discussion, and it will continue. I think that when they have the next health committee hearings, I hope more people in Mount Vernon will go out, particularly who live here, who will be impacted by it, and we're going to continue. We're not just doing this in Mount Vernon, we're doing this all over the state of New York, because every life, particularly if you're from one of our communities of color, is precious. Thank you for coming, and God bless you. Thank you.
And our website is savingblacklives.org, and you can get all the information on the savingblacklives.org.
AJ, take a picture of us.
Chris, can you give my sister my contact information?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Are you on our communications list?
I was in there.
All right, I'll make sure Glenda Lees has your info.
I think somebody on the panel wanted
No longer making.
Brother. Hey, thank you.